Okay, so for the first problem, we are asked to find the deformation of the string and the tension on the cord. Um, Basically, what's this deformation? That's actually the displacement of this string from the original, not string, but this is spring. So let's assume that the spring has an equilibrium position here. So meaning, when we put the two masses in this when you put the two attach the two masses, it has deformed to up to this point. So meaning this is what we are looking for, and let's call this x. Okay, or you can label it y. So in order to know this, we have to put we have to put a free body diagram on this part right here. But first, let's solve the tension because it is easy to solve this tension. When we solve this tension, so it doesn't matter the small m or whatever is set up above that. It doesn't matter. It's just like this cord is attached to a ceiling. So what only matters is this m. So when you put the free body diagram here, you have let me get the thread. Okay, you have the down. Oh. Okay, so the green is we have the downward force, and that downward force is the weight of this block, which is capital mg, and then the upward force would be the tension. So the equation here would be summation of force along the y here would be the summation of forces would be equal to t minus mg equals 0. Is it clear? Okay, I'll just write in blue. So that would be t minus mg equals capital mg equals 0. So 0. So from here, t is equal to mg. So there it goes. We found now the tension. How about the deformation or the change in x? So in solving for this one, let's actually, okay, we put the free body diagram here. The axis is in green. And the downward force is, you have the weight not just of m, small m, but also with capital M. It's just like there are two masses or one body attached to the spring, and the total mass is m plus m. So that means that going downward is the weight of these two masses. Okay, just like one body with the total weight of with the total mass of m plus small m plus m. So that would be m plus m times g, and then upward that would be kx. So the summation of forces on this part here would be upward, that would be kx. Okay, let's assume that the spring has a constant k, whatever is that k. Okay, so kx, and then going downward is minus m plus capital M times g, and this is equal to 0. Now what happened to the tension? Well, the tension will actually cancel out because we know in this cord right here, the tension is going up, but on this part right here, the tension is going down. So when you add the two tensions together, it doesn't matter. Okay, so it's just like as if these two masses are bound together into a single object. So from here, we know that x is equal to m plus capital M, small m plus capital M over k times g. Okay, so well, if there are numbers here, you can just put the numbers. That means that you have to express the formula in terms of what is given. Okay, so in this case, the given is this, and that. So all the final formula must be in that, in these variables. Okay, so let's have another problem. Okay, so on the second problem, we have here an inclined plane with an angle theta, and you have a mass, okay, attached to a spring. Now, notice that when we first deal with this type of problem, it was not a spring, it was just a cord, and then we are asked to find the tension on the cord. Well, this will give us exactly the same solution, only that the force, instead of T, we have now the elastic force, which is Kx. Okay, so meaning that we are asked to do the formation of the spring, means that the spring has some, let's assume that the equilibrium is on this point right here, so this means the spring has moved by a distance x. So we are asked to find x. For first is this is frictionless, and the second is there is what we call the static friction. Okay, so the givens are k, m, and theta. So that means that all of our final answer must be in terms of theta, m, and k, and of course including g. Okay, so again, the first thing that we do is we construct a free body diagram. Okay, I'll put the free body diagram here. You have this, okay, and this is angle theta, and here you have the weight, okay, of that, and of course you have the normal force, and now the tendency of the object is to move in this direction. So that means that the friction is going on the opposite side. So meaning, okay, we have friction on this side right here, and also here, since we are to the right of the equilibrium position, meaning that the force is going there. Okay, remember that the elastic force is always going towards the equilibrium. So that means there's another force right here, and we call that is now the elastic force. So here you have friction, Fk, and we have Fe, capital E. So the elastic force. Okay, for the first case, we don't need Fk and N. Okay, so because N will only matter if we solve for friction, because friction is mu N. But since we are frictionless for the first case, we only need to solve for x. So here, for A, summation of forces along x equals, what are the forces along x? On the negative direction, you have minus kx. And then, on the positive direction is we have the y, the x component of the weight. So you have here, this one is the weight x, and this one right here is the weight y. Okay, weight x and weight y. And notice that weight x is just, if this angle is theta, then this must be pi over 2 minus theta, or 90 minus theta. Okay, so I'll write that. That's pi over 2 minus theta, or 90 minus theta. Okay, weight x, so on the positive side is plus weight x. But what's weight x? That's just this magnitude right here, which is the weight, mg, times cosine of theta, because we are on the adjacent. So this is mg cosine and theta. And this was exactly the same equation that we have derived before, only that this was here a T, because it was tension. And this is 0. So here we can see that x is just equal to mg cosine theta over k. So that would be the first solution for this one. Okay. Now, what if we, in the case that the mass is just hanging? Well, in this case, what is our theta? Our theta would be, in the case that the mass just hangs on the, sorry, this is not cosine theta, this is cosine of pi over 2 minus theta. So you have cosine pi over 2 minus theta, which is just actually sine of theta. Okay, so this is just meaning that this one, right, and this is equal to 0. So, but this one right here is sine. So this is sine of theta. Okay, now notice that when this is just hanging, what we get now sine of theta. And here, in this case, our theta, notice that this is our theta here. the inclined plane has to be like this, perpendicular to the horizontal, to the floor. So that means that theta would be 90. So sine of 90 is done. So we get mg over k, which is usually, this is just when you hang of mass m. We obtained this in the first example, only that our m was replaced by m plus m over k times g. Okay, so because there, our total mass, it was small m plus capital M. In this case, we only have the small m. Okay, so that is now the first case. How about the second case when mu s equals zeros? Okay, so for B, let's take again the summation of 4. We have to solve along y because we have to get what this n. This is a known. Okay, so we now solve for this n minus weight y, which is weight y is mg sine of, this was pi over 2 minus theta, so sine mg sine of pi over 2 minus theta, and this is equal to 0. Notice that sine of pi over 2 minus theta is just cosine of theta, so n now is equal to mg cosine of theta. Okay, now we are ready for the sum along x. You have on the negative side, you have minus kx, and friction minus fs. And this is plus, okay, weight x equals 0. So what is, this is just minus kx. This is mu s mg cosine of theta minus or plus, this was mg sine theta. So this is mg is the same as the weight x here. Mg sine of theta, and this is equal to 0. Okay, so x right here is, you have now x. Now you can do the algebra, and x would give us sine theta minus mu s cosine theta over k times mg. Okay, so if there are numbers right here, you just put the numbers. Okay, so notice in this case that if mu s equals 0, what do we have back? We get this. If mu s equals 0, so this term right here will be 0. So this is just mg sine theta over k. Okay? Okay, so our next problem is, we have here an elevated surface with an inclined angle of inclination, a straight path to a height of 100 meters, such that the angle of inclination is 30 degrees. Now, suppose that there is a load right here of 10 kilograms, and you are to carry this one. Okay? You are to carry this one up to the top of this 100 meters by moving at a constant velocity. So as in the previous example, you learned that it doesn't matter how fast you are moving, as long as as long as a constant velocity, the work done doesn't matter. Okay, because in this example, I'd like to calculate both the work done and the power. Okay, so we assume that we travel at a constant velocity, and maybe v is equal to, let's say, 2 meters per second. Okay, on this direction, 2 meters per second. So we want to know what is the work done in doing so. Okay, so what energy that you consume or you spend in carrying this load from the bottom to the top, in which the height is 100 meters, and let's assume that this is 0, the ground. Okay, so first let's start solving this one, and first let's draw the free body diagram. Okay, so basically, when I am assuming that when I'm carrying the block, I'm applying a force directly up. That is the force that I'm applying. So meaning that the energy that my body is going to give or to spend is due to that force. Okay? So, meaning that technically, the free body diagram is, I'll get the green. So, this is our axis. Oh, wala ink. Anyway, meaning that the applied force that I want to get is actually going straightly up, exactly countering the weight of this one. So this applied force must just be equal to the weight of this. Okay? Because it is equilibrium in this block right here. As I move it, it's not going up relative to my position, to my height, nor is it going down. So meaning that um, if I'm carrying the block, so in this axis is equilibrium. Okay, it's not going up or it's going down, although I myself is going up. Okay, so meaning that this FA must be equal to the weight of this. So FA is just equal to, this is 98 newtons. Okay, so what is now the work done in this applied force as soon as I reach this top right here? So what would be my energy, the energy that I will consume? Okay, so this is my displacement, and let's call this to be x. Okay, now what's x? Here, we know that x, using trigonometry, x cosine, no, sine of 30. X sine of 30 degrees equals 100. So x now is equal to, well, sine of 30 is 1/2. So that means that 100 over 1/2, so x is 200 meters. So this is my distance to be traveled, my displacement. Okay, so it's 100 meters. Now, to calculate for the work done by this F, I need to know the angle, because again, the work done is equal to F dot X. No integration required here because we are our force is constant and our displacement is a straight line. And okay, we don't change our velocity is constant. Okay, so no work. I mean, yeah, no integration is needed. So if this is 30 degrees, that means that this is 60 degrees. So the work done now would be equal to F, which is 98 newtons. Okay, I'll just write FA times X times cosine of, what's the angle between X and FA? That would be cosine of 60. Okay? So they are separated by 60 degrees. Remember always the dot product. A dot B is equal to the magnitude of A times the magnitude of B times cosine of the angle between the vectors A and B. So here, this is cosine of 60 degrees. So this is 98 newtons times X, which is 200 meters. Cosine of 60 is just the same as sine of 30, which is 1/2. Okay? So here, that is equal to, that's 9,800 times 2, that would be 19,600 divided by, 9,800 joules. I would need to spend 9,800 joules in order to raise this one. Okay, that's actually about maybe some 2,000 calories. Okay, now what's the power? What's the power? Well, the power is that the power that I need. If this was a machine, if you're like an electric, they call this one electric ramp, the power in order to do this, to load this 10 kilogram up to the top, is just equal to, this is FA times V. Again, our FA, this is FA dot V. Okay? And V is parallel to X. Okay? So here, our FA is 98 newtons times V, which is 2 meters per second. Because it's 2 meters per second on this. Okay? If 2 meters per second is the vertical descend, I mean vertical ascend, then you still have to get this component right here. Okay? But what the problem says that the velocity on this line is 2 meters per second. So meaning this is automatically it's a velocity times cosine of the angle between FA and V. Okay? Always remember that when you encounter the dot product, you need to get the directions of the vectors. Okay? So here, cosine of 60. But then, okay, cosine of 60 degrees. And this is just again 1/2. So 98, that's 196 divided by 2, that's 98 watts. Okay? So, yeah, this is the power that I need in order to raise this to that at 2 meters per second. Okay? So, okay, follow up. Just maybe, what if the 2 meters per second is not on this I mean on this line, but actually 2 meters per second ascend. You ascend at 2 meters per second, but then this is your path. Well, it's just triangle again. You have 2 and you have 30 degrees. So let's take this as our V. Okay? So here, V sine of 30 degrees. V sine of 30 degrees is equal to 2. This is 1/2, so meaning V is equal to 4. So if that's the case, if you ascend, okay, by 2 meters per second, then that would be, the power would be 98 times 4 times 1/2. That would be 196 watts. It's twice because, again, it's twice because you will need to travel at 4 meters per second, okay, to accomplish that. Okay. Okay, so suppose you are curious, what is the work done by the gravitational force? Okay, let's calculate the work done by the gravitational force. I think I write it here. Okay, let's calculate the work done by the gravitational force. Let's take the original velocity, 2 meters per second. Okay, so the work done by the gravitational force is, okay, let's do the free body diagram. This is our weight. This is the gravitational force. So meaning that you have here the weight and the displacement. So we will need this angle, the smaller angle, because there are two angles here. Okay, the smaller angle. And if this is 30, okay, if that is 30, then, and this is 90, so this must be, this angle right here, that one, must be 120 degrees. Okay? And so, the work, I mean, the work done by the weight, the work done by gravity, which is the weight, is just the weight times x times cosine of 120 degrees. But cosine of 120 degrees, this is the weight is mg, and then x. Cosine of 120 is just equal to sine of, well, okay, the cosine of 120, this is 120 degrees. So the x component of that is just equal to the cosine of 60. The negative cosine of 60. Because this is the x component. So the x component of 120 is this, which is just the same as you have this triangle and that. So this is 60, because 120 plus 60 is 180. So, but it's negative. So meaning this is negative of cosine of 60 degrees. But this is just, again, equal to sine 30, which is 1/2. So this is now negative mgx. So this is negative, what was the m? 10 times 9.8 times, what was that? 200. Okay? And you get, wait. Yeah, 98 times 200 times 1 half, and you get negative, um, still 9,800 joules. And why is this? As I've told you, what is the work done? This is a conservative force. So, as I've said, the work done by the conservative force, since G is a conservative force, is just equal to the change in potential energy. So, let's take the change in potential energy, delta GPE, the gravitational potential energy, which is mgh final. Okay, let's take this as 2 and 1. So mgh2 minus mgh1. And this is h2 is, this is 0 because h1 is 0. And h2 is just 100. So this is just 10. Okay, this is just 10. Sorry, it's not, this is a negative. The work done by the conservative force is equal to the negative of the change in the potential energy. Or, yeah, remember, the work done by the conservative is negative delta V when we derive the conservation of energy. So this is, there's a negative right here, negative of that. So this is a negative 10 times 9.8 times H2 is 100, and you get, again, negative 9,800, which is just the change in the potential energy, okay, as we have established. So the gravity here also does a work which is negative. And what's the total work done? The total work done is what? 0. Okay? Even if you include the, there's a friction right here. Why 0? Because what is our net again? The total work done. The total work done is F net dot x. Okay? Or if you have non-regular non-constant, you have the integration. Okay, so our F net here is 0. Okay, because basically we are moving at a constant velocity. Okay, next problem. Okay, so for our next problem is we have a block of mass. Okay, we have here a block of mass M, which is 5 kilograms. So the given would be, the general given would be mass is equal to 5 kilograms. Is to be moved by 100 meters. The coefficient of friction is 0.3. Okay? So find the work done. Okay, you have another given, coefficient of kinetic friction, because this is moving, we have 0.3. So find the work done and the power needed if the block is to be pushed at, or, okay, to be pushed at, okay, A, constant velocity of 2 meters, B is constant velocity of 10 meters per second, while 3 and 4 are accelerated motion, constant accelerated motion. So both of these have the same motion, uniform velocity, and while this one is uniform acceleration. Okay, so first is, okay, so it is to be pushed by 100 meters. So meaning, let's assume that it's going to be pushed on this direction right here, yeah, to the right, where this is x equals 100 meters. Now, first is, for number 1, we are asked to calculate the work done. Okay, what's the work? The work is just equal to, in this case, we don't need to integrate because this is a constant, here, this is a constant force motion. So work done is just equal to F dot X. But what is this F? Okay, when you are pushing this block, when you push it at constant velocity, the applied force that you would need would just be the same as the kinetic friction, because the free body diagram, okay, the mass is here. The free body diagram is, to the right is your applied force, and to the left, that would be your kinetic friction. And the summation of forces along X, that would be FA minus Fk, which is just mu k times n. In this case, it's no inclined plane, meaning n is just equal to mg. And this must be equal to 0 because we are pushing it at a constant velocity. That means that Fa is just equal to mu k mg. Okay? And this is the force that we are talking about here. We want to calculate, it's understood that we want to calculate the work that we do. The work that we do is the work that we apply, the work that corresponds to the force that we apply. And the force that we apply is this Fa. Okay, friction also does a work here, and actually you will see that the work done by friction is just the negative of the work done by this one. We'll solve it later. Okay, so here in this case, F dot X. Okay, first, what is the direction of this? Is a dot product. Okay, so what's the direction of force here? This is the applied force, while the direction of this is that way. So F dot, the angle between them is the 0. Okay, note that this is F x cosine of theta. Our theta here is just 0, so meaning cosine of 0 is just 1. So that means that this is just equal to the applied force, which is mu k mg times cosine of 0, which is 1. Okay, I'll just write it here. Cosine of 0, so this is just 1. So this is just mu k mg. Okay, or okay, I'll just write mu k mg, and I don't have a calculator here. Maybe you can, in order for you to solve, to participate in this example, just solve this one. Just plug in the mass. You have m, and then you have g as 9.8, and you have mu k. Okay, I think it's easy to calculate. 5 times 9.8, that would be 49. Okay, sorry. There's an x right here. X, mgx. Okay? Mgx. So that would be 49 times 100. That would be 490 times 0.3. 490 times 0.3. That would be 49 times 3. So I think this is 49 times 3. That would be 40, 120. I think 147 joules. Okay? I don't have a calculator. Yes. 5 times 9, 49 times 10. No, sorry. It's 100. So 49 times 100, that would be 1,000. 49 times 100, that would be 4,900 times 0.3, so 1,470 joules. Okay? Okay, how about the power? The power, what was our power? P is equal to F dot V. Okay, what's the power here? The force and the, okay, our velocity is also moving this way. So, that means that this is just equal to mu k mg times the velocity times cosine of 0 again, so it's just 1. So the power would just be equal to 49 times 2, that would be 98. Yeah, because the velocity is 2. Okay, first be sure that the units is in meters per second for velocity, in SI unit, okay? So that your units will be compatible, okay? So, yeah, this is 5 times 49 times 2, that's 98. 9.8 times 3. That would be 9 times 3, 27, plus 2.4. That's 29.4 watts. Okay, that would be joules per second. So this is the answer. Now, how about, as I've said, we calculate the work done by friction. The work done by friction, work done by Fx, this is the work done by the applied force. This is what's the friction. This is just, again, mu k mg and x. But the angle right here is, we know that friction is going on the other way around. This is friction, kinetic friction. So this is now cosine of pi, or 180, and this is just negative 1. So as you can see, this is just minus mu k mg x. That's the work done by friction. Okay? Now, the total work done here, if you add the two, is 0. It's actually because there's no net force. We are doing here, what's the total work done? The total work done is not in the question, but for demonstration purposes, I'd like to answer that one. So the total work done would be work total, that would be work done by the applied force plus the work done by friction plus, okay, the normal force does no work. Why? Okay, first, okay, I think I should write it here. The work done by the normal force was the work done by the gravitational force. And both of these are zeros. Why? Because as you can see, the normal force is going perpendicular to the velocity. And cosine of 90 is 0. And also gravity is perpendicular to x. I mean x. The normal force is perpendicular to x and also the velocity. So cosine of 90 is just 0. So that's why this will produce no work. Only these two works. When we say of total work done, we are actually calculating the overall, the work done by all possible force present there. Okay? And as you can see, in this this is just equal to the net force. What's the net force here? It's 0 because this is traveling at a constant motion. So we can derive this one. This is FAX, okay, cosine of 0. So this is just 1, and this is plus, and this is FKX, cosine of 180. So this is negative 1. This is mu K mgx minus mu K mgx, and this is just equal to 0. Okay? So by formula, the total work done is actually the work done by the net force. This is the work done by the net force, which is F net, wherever net force is directed, times the direction of the displacement. And as you can see, this is 0 because our net force in this case is just 0. Okay? For these two, our net force is 0. Now, we answer number 2. For number 2, the constant velocity of 10. Well, it's the same. As you can see, the work done to calculate the work done, we don't need the velocity. So that means that regardless of what is the velocity, the work done here is just the same. It's just, this is what only that matters, okay? So the work done by this one is just the same as 1. So this is just 1,470 joules, okay? Meaning that this is the energy that you would consume in order to move this from this. If you're pushing that one, if you're pushing the machine, you will be losing an amount of 1,480 joules. So that would be times divided by 4.180 calories in order to move this mass right here to this point right here. Okay, this is the energy that you consume. If you're using a battery, then your battery will be losing, assuming that all of it are converted into work. Of course, in advanced physics and thermodynamics, it would say that not all of it will be converted into work. But let's assume that all of it will be converted into work, then your battery will be losing this amount of energy. Okay? If you use that to move this one from that point. It doesn't matter how fast you're going. Okay? But of course, the faster that you go, the lesser time that you would consume. That would change. That would be the difference. Okay? And how about the power? Here, the power will be different. The power is just equal to the force, which is, in this case, mu K mgv, and the velocity now is 10. So that's 49 times 10. That would be 490 times 0.3. This is now 147 watts. Yeah, it is 49 times 10. That would be 490 times 0.3. That is 147 watts. Kindly correct. I kindly check this one. I don't have a calculator here. So this is the power. That means that if you have a battery that can run only up to 30 watts, let's say you have a battery, your battery rating can only supply power of 30 watts, assuming that all of it can be converted into work, then that battery can do this one. It can only move up to 2 meters per second. But if you go faster than that, that you need to consume greater than 30, around 30 watts, then that battery could no longer perform. You need a stronger battery, a more powerful battery in order to perform this one right here. So that's the difference. The energy consumption would be the same. It doesn't matter that if your battery is very large, like you have a large battery for both. But if your battery has low power, no matter unsa na siya kadaghan ang sulod dira, then it will not be able to perform this. It can only, okay, you can actually calculate the maximum speed. Okay? Now, let's say this is let's add an additional question. Okay? What is the maximum, okay, what is the maximum speed or velocity speed that can, I don't know, move the block to 100 meters. If I have a battery of power, let's say the power is 50 watts. Okay, here to calculate that, well, the P is just equal to F times V, so that V here it's just positive because our force is moving with the velocity, so that is just V is just equal to P over F. In this case, you have 50 watts divided by, what is the force? The force is 14.7 newtons. So this is in meters per second. So 50, whatever this number is. Okay, this is around, it's more than 3. Okay, it's more than 3 meters per second, less than 4. Okay, it's more than 3, less than 4. It's close to 3. Okay, so this is the max, more than 3 meters per second, but less than 4 meters per second. Okay, so this is the maximum velocity that if you have a 50 watts battery. Okay, so that's the first two questions. How about for the third question? Well, for the third question, it's no longer the same. For the third question, we have here okay, first we have to recalculate x. Okay, and this is no longer equal to 0. This one is MA. So FA would be equal to, this is I think this is 14.7. 5 times 9.8 times 0.3, this is 14.7 newtons plus MA. That would be, MA is 5 times 2, this is 10 newtons. So this is now 24.7 newtons. So the work done, this is still the same right here, Fx cosine theta. So this is now 24.7 newtons times x, which is 100 meters. So you would be needing 2,470 joules. That's the work done. But how about the power? Now the power here is not constant. Okay, the power is not constant. So we can just calculate for P of t. P of t is F of t times V of t. Well, F is not a function of time, okay, because we have a constant force right here. So, but V of t is a function of time. What is V of t? Well, this is a constantly accelerated motion. And assuming that we start at 0, okay, so as you can see, we have this equation, right? V is equal to V naught plus AT. This is already V of t. So this means that our power now is, if this is 0, so this is just equal to 280. Our A is 2. So our function, this is now, our P of t now would be equal to, the applied force is 24.7, or I'll just derive the equation. So this is mu k mg plus ma times 80. So this is our P of T. It's a function. Okay? So this is mu K mgat plus ma squared t. Okay, that's our P of T. It's actually a linear function of time. Okay, or this will do. You just put numbers to this. A is given, M as well, and that. So you can solve that. That's our P of T. And for our number 4, well, number 4 is just the same. The work done, but in this case, our A is 10. So that's 5 times 10. This means that this is 50. So this would be 64. So the work done is actually 64.7 newtons times x 100. So that would be equal to 6,470 joules. And the power has the same formula as, the power would have, P of T would have the same formula as that, but you would have a different value for A on this one. Okay? Okay, I'd like to illustrate something here. We derived a form, when we derived the power was remember this. It came from the work done is equal to, this is P of T dt. Or from here, I gave you this formula. P of T is equal to dW over dt. Okay? So, if this is the power, how can we show that this is indeed that that formula? Okay, first, what's the work done? In terms of, okay, the work done, okay, the formula for the work done by FA is mu K mg plus ma. Okay, so d over dt of this is the power, but then there's a times x. Okay, so when we take dw over dt of this, okay, so you have by the way, this is mu k mg x plus max. Okay, take the derivative of this one. So d over dt, this will be d over dt. So d over dt of this is m is constant, g is constant, but x is not constant. So you have now, this becomes now mu k mg v, because this is x, dx over dt. This becomes dx over dt. Plus, this has two time-dependent variables, a and t, a and x. Because x is time-dependent and a is time-dependent. Because here, in this case, x now would depend on time because we have a non-constant. X always depends on time, actually. So, anyway. So, take the derivative of this. So, you have first the second. So, you have now m a times below x dot. So, meaning this is v plus second the first. So, you have mx the first. So, you have now a dot. But what is that a dot? That is dA over dt. Okay, but here, as you can see, we have a constantly accelerated motion. So a dot is just equal to, okay, we have constant acceleration. So this is 0. So as you can see, this is just mu k mg plus ma times v. But what's v? Again, v is v naught plus 80. Since v naught is 0, so it's just 80. So this is just, okay, this is v, this was v, and now we can replace this by mu k mg plus ma times a times t. This is now our P of t, and they coincide. Okay, formula. In this problem, we have a, I don't know, this is a stick, or that's a wood or a crane. The mass is m and the length is l, and it makes an angle of theta with the horizontal. Now, on the edge of the crane is you have a block of mass m attached to it, and also the edge of this one is to be tied to a wall right here. And let's assume that this cord and that cord are disconnected. So that means that the tension here is not the same as the tension here. Okay? So we want to know what is now the tension if this is in equilibrium. Okay? So here, we will need now to apply torque in this problem because there's rotation. Assume that this is the pivot point right here, and of course, the motion would possibly be, there's a rotational motion if this is not in equilibrium. Okay? So, and assuming that this is purely horizontal component. Okay? So we want to calculate the tension on that, given the mass of this ladder is M. Okay? So, our unknown is we have, how many unknowns do we have? Well, the tension here is we have to solve that. Okay? Now, what's the condition for equilibrium? In this case, the condition for equilibrium is summation of forces is equal to 0. That's the first condition. And the second condition for equilibrium is a summation of torque equals 0. In this case, do we need this one? Because there are times that we are going to need this, both of these equations, but there are times that we don't need actually this two. I mean, we only need one. Okay? So in this case, let's solve it. We only need, I think we only need this one. Summation of torque. To solve for the summation of torque, we don't need this one because actually we don't have, yeah, I think we don't need this one. So the summation of torque is find all the torques find all the possible rotations that were generated by these forces. Okay, first, okay, summation of torque now would be equal to the torque generated by the ladder. Now, if the ladder, I mean, if you have a rod, we assume that the force, the weight is acting at the geometric center, and that's the center of mass, which is just halfway, assuming that this is of constant density. So the force here, the weight is acting straightly on the the midpoint. Okay, so this is now mg. This force is small m times g. Okay, now what is the formula for the torque? The torque is equal to FL sine of theta. The lever arm, meaning that at what the L now is the distance in which the force is acting. At what point does the force is acting? At what distance from the pivot point? So this is our pivot point. So that means that our lever arm here is just L over 2 because this is a blank L. It's just halfway. But sine theta is the angle that our force makes with the lever arm. So our lever arm, this is our lever arm. So the angle that it makes with the lever arm is this. Okay? And if this is theta, this must be equal to pi over 2 minus theta, or 90 minus theta. Okay, so the first torque would be mg times L over 2 times, that would be, that is our lever arm, L over 2, and sine theta, which is sine of pi over 2 minus theta, that would give us now cosine of theta, because the sine of pi over 2 minus theta. Now the next, now ask the second, the next time is what is the sine, the next step is to ask what is the sign that this torque will give us. Now this torque will create a clockwise rotation. Now from our convention, clockwise is negative, while counterclockwise is positive. So this creates a clockwise, so this means this is negative. Okay? Now how about this? This force right here is just the weight of this. We don't need to solve for the tension on this one. These two are these two strings right here are assumed to be detached, disconnected. Okay? So the force right here is just the mass, the weight of this. So this is just mg. Okay? So that means that, okay, now this creates a clockwise torque, because if you this is the pivot point, and if you pull it here, it will create a clockwise rotation. So this is just equal to, and this is minus mg, and what's the lever arm? That's just L, okay? Times sine of, again, this is the angle, and that is just the same as this. So sine of pi over 2 minus theta is just again cosine of theta. Okay? By the way, the given here is m, theta, and capital M and L. That means that all of our, I mean, the formula must be given in terms of this must be in terms of this given. Okay, now the last one is this. Okay? That one is the torque generated by this tension, by that force. Okay? So that will create a positive torque because it's created counterclockwise. This is the pivot point. So this is plus T, that is the unknown. We only have one unknown. That's why we may not use this one, because we only have one unknown and we can get it from this equation. Okay? So this is T, and this creates a positive torque, right? Because it's counterclockwise. So T, and then times L. The lever arm is just L, okay? And then sine of, what's the angle? Well, this is now the angle between that T, that force, and the lever arm, okay? And this then is just like equal to, this is just theta. So this is sine of theta, and this is equal to 0 since this is in equilibrium, okay? So this one now would be, we can now find, okay, L will cancel out. That means that the tension will not depend on L. Okay? So T right there is equal to, you have, move it here, so you have mg cosine theta minus small mg, plus mg cosine theta over sine theta. Cos over sine is cotangent. So you have now, that would be m plus m g cotangent theta. Yeah, I think this is correct. Yeah, when you move that one here, you have mg cos theta plus mg small mg cosine theta divided by cotangent theta. Okay, yeah, this is correct. So this is now the tension. Okay? Okay. Our next problem is is impulse, okay, and momentum. Now, okay, I will not write the problem, but I'll just explain it to you. Okay, we are assuming here a one-dimensional motion, and here we have a particle of mass m. So the given is m. Okay, given. You have to list the given even if there are no numbers in order for you to remember that the final formula must be in terms of all those given. Okay, we have a mass m that moves at velocity v naught. Okay, we are assuming the constant velocity in this region right here. Now, as it gets into this point right here, it starts to experience a force which is towards this, towards the opposite direction of its initial velocity. And this region will is for a distance of d, okay? Meaning that there could be something right here, maybe that there is a magnet, or I don't know, that in this region, within this region, it's active. And then as soon as it gets out of this region, it starts, F no longer is acting, okay? So we want to find the velocity of the particle A. Okay, first given you have M, and then V naught, and then of course F, and you have D. Okay, let's just call this F naught. Okay. Okay, there's no, F naught is not initial F, it's just F naught. Okay, so right here, we have to know, okay, first analyze the system. what is the velocity of the particle as it gets into this region? And of course, that is just v naught. Okay, this is constant velocity, so meaning the velocity here is v naught. But in this case here, we have v. Now, this is almost like the impulse problem, impulse and momentum problem, but the thing is we have, instead of time, the force acts for a distance d. For the impulse, what's our impulse? J. J is F delta T. Okay? But then, the problem is, we are not given time. We are not given with time. With time is not given. But here it says that the force will act within this region. It's not a duration in time. Okay, the force will act within this region, within that region of length d. But can we convert this into an impulse problem? Actually, we can do that. We can find the impulse right there. Okay, or just momentum, which is just, this is equal to m delta v. So here is, as you can see, this is just F is equal to m delta v over delta t. And this is actually just an impulse and momentum problem. And as much like this is a kinematic problem. So the impulse and momentum is just like, it's just the force, and this is dynamics and kinematics combined. Okay? So, anyway, so we are asked to find the velocity at this point. So, first is find v. As soon as it gets out of this region. Okay? So, we want to know that. Okay? So, first, to know that, we have to know the acceleration, the deceleration. Okay? So the acceleration is equal to F naught over m. So we can now get the acceleration. And we can find certainly v. What's v? By using 2ax equals, or in this case d, 2ad is equal to v squared minus v naught squared. Our v squared is just equal to, this is just v naught squared plus 2 F naught over m times d. And these are all given. So, we can find the velocity there. Okay? So, calculate the change in momentum. What's the change in momentum? Okay? Oh, what's the initial momentum? P naught. This is m v naught. So, no problem because this is given. How about final P? This is just m times, this is v squared. So, this is m times the square root of v naught squared plus 2 F naught d over m. Okay, just plug in the values in your calculator and you will solve this one. So, this is my final momentum. And what's the change? What's delta P? And delta P is this minus that. So, that would be m times square root of v naught squared plus 2 F naught d over m minus v naught. That's my delta P. And we know that this is my F delta T, or this is my impulse. So I have solved now the impulse. That's just delta P. Okay? Now, what is the time? What is the time? We want to know now. What is the time in which the force is active on the object? Now, what is the time? If you are traveling with the object and you don't know that, you're traveling with the object, how long will you wait until the force starts to, until the applied force stops? Okay, from here, you go back to the uniform velocity. Okay, so that is the time. Okay, and delta T is just, well, this is F naught, right? F, so delta T is just technically this over F naught. So, okay, or you can use kinematics because this is quite difficult to deal with because of the square root. You can use kinematics. Okay, how can you calculate that? We have V equals V naught plus AT. Well, or V, oh yeah, we can't avoid it. So this is V naught squared plus 2 F naught D over M. And this is equal to V naught, what's A? That is F naught over MT. So using this, what you get is T is equal to, or delta T. This is delta T actually. Okay, delta T. Here we are assuming that we start at 0, right? So this is assuming that T naught is 0. So this is just Ft. So T now is just equal to minus, you have now that square root. Okay, I'll just put this as, I don't know, G. This whole thing is G, so that is the square root of G minus V naught. And then, okay, that's M over F naught times square root, times square root of G minus V naught, according to this formula. But how about according to this formula? Well, it's the same. You have delta, this is just equal to M times, what was this? We square root of G minus V naught equals, you have F naught T, right? This one. So T is just, again, M over F naught times square root of G minus V naught, where G is equal to V naught squared plus 2 F naught D over M. And we get the same. That's the impulse and momentum. You may not even think of it as just impulse and momentum. It's just kinematics and plus F equals MA. Just as the 4 kinematic equations, okay? And then you add F equals MA. Well, that is at least for the basic, but for the more advanced, the kinematic equations could be much more complicated than the kinematics that we know. So it will be, yeah, it will there. We need the concept of momentum, and we need the concept of impulse. Okay, so meaning here that the force will act. You will experience the force for this time, right here. Okay, so if there are numbers right here, so you can put it in the calculator and solve. Now the question is, what? Suppose that what distance, if we can adjust this, what distance, find D so that V final is 0. Meaning that if we can adjust this, and we want, this is constant, this is fixed, and we want the final velocity to be 0 right here, just at the end. Okay, what should be D? We want to adjust that. Well, is again, if the final velocity is 0, what is our D? This is just, what's our D? Okay, our D would be equal to, this is 0, so this is minus V naught squared over 2A. But then, our A is, this is V naught squared over 2, but our A is F naught over, so this is now M times M over F naught, because over A, what is our A? A is F naught over M, so that over A that becomes M over F naught. So this is our distance, right? That one. Now, this is a negative distance. Well, as you can see, our acceleration, okay, I forgot to put it here. Because our acceleration is actually negative. Here, I'm assuming a negative to be encoded, but if we want to emphasize the negative, that such that the force is going there, so we have to put negative here. So here it becomes minus, it becomes minus, it becomes minus right here, and here it's minus, and here is minus, and this becomes now a positive distance because you have minus minus. Okay, okay. So if I'm going to emphasize the negative, of course, okay, this is positive right here. So this is the distance. And what is the time? Well, what's the time? This is 0. Okay? Okay, what's the time? Well, you can solve it by calculate the time it takes for it to stop. What is the time it takes for it to stop? This is 0 and solve for t and then substitute a for this one and you can calculate the time. But I can, to show it, how do we use it in terms of momentum and impulse. What's the final momentum? The final momentum is just 0 because v final is 0. So that means that this one, delta p now becomes, delta p would become this minus that, so minus m v naught, and this is equal to f delta t. So this is f naught and minus f naught delta t or ft. So, and what is f naught? Okay, f naught is given. So t is just equal to m over f naught v naught, and that is equal to t. And what is the impulse? The impulse is this, mv naught. Okay, if I solve it using purely kinematic, so this is 0. So you have now minus v naught equals at. But what is a? This is minus f naught over m. I would still get this one. So t is equal to m over f naught times v naught. You get the same. Okay? So, anyway, now let's explore one more question here. This is the distance that we need in order for the particle to stop. Okay? If this is the distance, then right at the end of this, the particle has already velocity of 0. But what if, okay, what if the distance d is greater than this, v naught squared m over 2 f naught? Then we would see that the particle is going to come out here. Why is that? Okay, suppose that, okay, this is where d is up to that point, and we don't know that, but this point right here is, this distance is exactly this. But then, the force, this region, the force extend up to this region. Okay? This distance is just this. What is this distance again? This is the distance that we need in order for a force of F naught going there to be able to stop the mass, the particle of mass m. So, what if that d is just right here, but then our region where the force is active extends up to this point? Okay? So, wait. Ay, parcel, oh. Salamat. Okay, may parcel. Okay, I have some parcel. Thank you. Salamat, Shopee. Okay. So, balik ta. Okay, our region, instead of, I mean, this is the only, this distance is this, and meaning that the particle, as it reaches to this point, the velocity is already 0. But then, up to this region, the force still active, up to this point right here. That means that there's no way that the particle can get into this region. What would happen is that as soon as it reaches here, the particle will start to reverse because there's still acceleration. Okay? And that reversal of acceleration will cause the particle to go back, and as it emerges in this point, it has a velocity again v naught. Okay? And I want you to show that Okay, and this is easy to show actually. That okay, the particle first starts as soon as it reaches its v naught, because it's constant right here, starts to experience the force F naught, and then start to decelerate because the force is going on the opposite side. And as soon as it reaches this one, the force is still active. And since the particle has not come out of that region, so that means that the particle will start to go back here. And then, starting from 0 again, it will go back. And this, because of the symmetry of equations, the 0, this is now the 0 right here, and then it will go back. As soon as the particle reaches again this point, it has a velocity v naught, but on the other side. Okay? On the negative. So meaning the velocity will be negative v naught on this one right here. So show that the velocity is v naught. Okay? We want to show that the final velocity, if this is the case, the final velocity is equal to negative v naught. Okay? If force is more than this, meaning that the particle has nibalik siya. It's just the same as katong if you throw something and then it starts and then it will go back. The velocity at any point is the same. I mean, the magnitude of the velocity, only in the opposite direction. But we will show that mathematically by using impulse. Okay? So here, since our d is this, greater than or equal to this, meaning that in order for the particle to cross here, d must be less than this distance right here. Because again, we calculated this by saying that the final velocity must be 0. Okay? Or actually, you can just use impulse and momentum for that. F delta t or Ft equals mvf minus mvi, which is v naught. And if we set this to be 0, so t is just equal to and the same. This is it. You have m over f naught v naught. Okay, so we get this. That's the time. Okay, but then if we double the time, because we claim that this is symmetric, so the time it takes from here to that point will be the time padulong dito. Okay, I want to prove to you that the velocity as it come out of this one is just negative v naught. So meaning, we set our time, our delta t or our t, because to be 2m v naught over f naught. Okay, what would be the final velocity? So we will use now the impulse and momentum. So F delta t equals mvf minus mv naught. So mv naught is given. This is just mv naught. So what is our F? This is just f naught. Okay? And our delta t is this. So you have now, meaning that mv final, I just use v, okay, because we initial is v naught, is equal to f naught times 2m v naught over f naught. Okay? Plus mv naught. Okay? And all the m's will cancel. Kaya tanang term na ano? And so right here we have, okay, by the way, our F is, we have to indicate this to be negative. Okay, when we solve it, we indicated that F is negative. Yeah. In this case, when we got this one, we set that F is negative. Okay, so there's a negative right here. Negative. So this cancels out. So you have now, dire mabilin is 2v naught plus v naught, and this is the final velocity. And again, okay, finally, eventually we have minus 2 plus 1, that is now minus v naught. And as you can see, it re-emerges at this point at a velocity v naught. If we set the time for the force, okay, to be active. Okay? That means, how do we interpret this? We know whatever the distance could extend there, or maybe there's no distance, there's no region like this, only that we have this button. Once we set that, once we turn on that button, okay, let's say that we're driving a spaceship, and once we turn that button, there is a force that goes on the opposite direction, and that magnitude is F naught. Okay, and if we turn on that button for the amount of time equal to this, okay, the mass of our, or the total mass of our ship and us, times the initial velocity, the moment that we started pushing the button, I mean, and over F. Okay, if we set, okay, F naught is meaning this is the spaceship will create this constant F naught. So if it take us, I don't know, maybe if this is 20 seconds long, it depends on M, V naught, and F. Suppose that this is 20 seconds long. If we keep on pressing it for 20 seconds, then that means that after 20 seconds, we will re-emerge here. But our direction is totally in the opposite. Let's say we don't know that. Okay? And after 20 seconds, if this is 20 seconds, meaning that it's 10 seconds up to this point, okay? And after that, after releasing after 20 seconds, we are back, okay, at our initial velocity. Okay, now, so let's have another follow-up, okay, the last follow-up. Okay, since we are back here with velocity v naught, with speed v naught, but opposite direction, so it's actually the negative of the initial velocity. So we calculate the distance covered, okay, and I'll show to you that the distance covered, as soon as that our final velocity becomes minus v naught, then d must be equal to 0. It should be equal to 0 because we are back at our starting point. Okay, here, since our d is not just distance but actually a vector. Okay, so from here, our formula for d is equal to v naught t plus 1/2 a t squared. So this is v naught, our initial velocity, and the time was, what was that time? So this is the kanisha. So this is 2m v naught over f naught, and this becomes now minus 1/2, since our a is just f naught over m, and then t squared. So you square this, you get 4m squared v naught squared over f naught squared. Okay, so this cancels out, the m squared, so you get now this term right here becomes 2m v naught squared over f naught minus, there's 2m. Now you have 4 over 2, so it becomes 2. So you have 2m v naught squared over f naught. And as you can see that this is 0. The distance traveled, the total distance traveled is 0. And of course, because we are back at our initial position, if we turn on that that force, okay, maybe it's like when you press that button, there's a force that would, a reverse thrust, okay, of this magnitude f naught. Okay, so if you, let's say, if this is again, if this is 20 seconds, if you put the values and this is 20 seconds, so after 20 seconds your distance travel, or the displacement is actually 0. This is the displacement, but the distance traveled is just twice this distance right here. Okay, so I hope that you learn something from this one, and especially the concept. Okay, thank you for watching.